Hey everybody, Taliesin here, and I am bringing you a brand new show today. It is Tarot with Taliesin, and in this show, I'm going to look at tarot cards. My favorite decks, my favorite spreads, some interesting stories of readings I've done in the past. It's all going to be on here. So I thought I'd kick off this show, though, with a review of Ellen Dugan's Witch's Tarot deck. Now, this deck is one that I was particularly interested in because it basically replaced one of my favorite tarot decks of all time. A long time ago, Llewellyn published The Witch's Tarot, but this one was designed by Ellen Cannon Reed and drawn by Martin Cannon. They had this one in print for a very long time. I've used it to read for over 30 years. However, a few years ago, it was announced that this deck was going to be going out of print, and they were going to replace it with a brand new Witch's Tarot, one designed by their top author at the time. So let's take a look at Ellen Dugan's Witch's Tarot and see if it was worth the swap. First, let's take a look at the illustration style used in the art on the cards. Now, this is very important because bad art has a way of just taking me out of the reading, make it really hard for me to focus on the question at hand, and makes the cards really hard to use. But I gotta tell you, the illustrations on these cards are fantastic. They were done by Mark Evans, and I am particularly fond of the depth of shading that he puts into these cards, the depth of field. Some of these cards almost have a 3D feel to them, and that's just incredible. Now, a lot of my friends know that I'm not a big fan of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, that classic tarot deck that everybody's owned at one point and a lot of people have copied. And that's usually a pet peeve of mine, when some new tarot deck just copies Rider-Waite imagery too closely. And the Witch's Tarot does do that a lot in the Minor Arcana. However, the sheer quality of Mark Evans's artwork overwhelms the fact that it's so similar to Rider-Waite-Smith imagery. It really saves it for me, and let me tell you something, I really like the way that this Minor Arcana has turned out. The way the different cards look, the way the different suits look. I mean, aesthetics are important. If you can't resonate with a deck, if you look at it and you think it just looks too goofy, you're going to have a hard time reading with it. Well, the illustrations that were done for these cards are not going to get in anybody's way, let me tell you that. Now, next up, I want to take a look at three particular cards. There are three cards that I look at to tell if a tarot deck is really worth my time. And I look at both the card design and the meanings that the author ascribes to each card. Now, those cards are threefold: Death, the Lovers, and the Devil. Let's take a look and see how the Witch's Tarot handles these three troublesome, problematic cards. Well, first let's take a look at Death and the Lovers. Now, I love the artwork in these two cards. I think it just came out fantastically. I mean, not only does the Death card have a little bit of a Ghost Rider vibe with the flaming skull. I told you I'm a geek. But also the Lover's card, that's one of those cards that has that 3D feel that I was talking about earlier. You really get a sense of distance between the figures in front and the figure in the back. So I love the style of these cards. I love the fact that it has traditional tarot imagery, but looking at things from a different angle. In other words, they weren't a complete slavish devotion to the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery. And I also like the fact that when you look in the book, in the interpretations for the cards, they're pretty standard. The thing to look out for is if you have somebody writing a tarot book and they talk about the Death card meaning literal death, or the Lover's card talking about meaning that Mr. or Ms. Right, or Mr. or Ms. Right now, whatever you're looking for. If they interpret things this way, then you know they don't really understand the tarot. Well, the meanings in here are really, I mean, they're standard tarot readings, but Death is about things passing away, but not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, let's face it, sometimes the old has to die off in order for the new to be able to grow. And the Lover's card just talks about the person's relationship with oneself and their spirit. These are fantastic cards. But what about the third card, I hear you say? What about the Devil card? Well, the devil card is a card that in a lot of pagan decks has been what my kids would call problematic. Because witches and most modern neo-pagans don't believe in a devil. So having a devil card in the deck, no matter what the tradition or the symbolism of it, can be kind of troublesome. Now, of course, the Witch's Tarot deck in the past got rid of the devil card and added a Horned God card. Let's see what Ellen Dugan did. Now, she replaced the devil card with the shadow side. Well, how does she see this shadow side card? Let's get the book out and see. And yes, I need my glasses, so please forgive the obnoxious reflections of the low-tech lighting I've got going on for this video. Right. Now, let's take a look and see what Ellen Dugan says in her companion book about the shadow side. The shadow side replaces the traditional devil card. Witches don't identify with the concept of a devil figure. The shadow side shows what happens when you let fear and panic take over. The card illustrates a couple cringing away from a shadowy and frightening figure. They are alone in a sinister forest. Clearly their fear is ruling them. The clothes of the man and woman are dark and dreary, representing their unhappiness at being in a dark place in their lives. The posture and expressions of the couple illustrate their fear and show that they have inadvertently given away their power to someone or something else. Running and hiding from the shadowy creature is not helping the couple, nor are they finding any comfort. Instead, they must turn and face their fears and stop letting situations and people frighten, intimidate, or upset them. We must all walk through dark times now and again. The question is, are you going to rise to the occasion and defeat your fears? Will you face the challenging people in your life and deal with the situations head on, or will you whimper and fret about it? Face your adversaries and fight back with honor and integrity, and you will defeat those who challenge you. I like that. It's good. It doesn't get too far away from what the old devil cards have traditionally meant. Now, Ellen Kanan Reed said that her Horned God figure represented things that are unknown, but some things that are unknown for a good reason. I always like that interpretation. I use it a lot, but I'll tell you, Ellen Dugan makes a great point about the shadow side and why it's just a great substitute for the devil card. Now, some of the other things that I look for in tarot decks these days, does it have a companion book? Well, this one does. And as a matter of fact, when you buy the Witch's Tarot deck, it comes in a box set, which I have right here, that includes the deck and the companion book. And this is a great thing to have because I don't really like getting decks that don't have companion books anymore. Sorry, I don't know, maybe I'm just spoiled, but when I look at a card and I have a hard time figuring out just why the deck designer designed this card the way they did, why they put certain things into the card, anything that's a mystery, I like being able to read a companion book to see why they did what they did in a card. There's a lot of decks that have some really good imagery that I could never read with because I just can't decipher why they put certain things where. The Sacred Sites Tarot is a particularly bad offender at this. So Witch's Tarot does have a companion book. That's a fantastic thing. But ultimately the question comes down to, would I read with it? Would I do a tarot reading with it? Yes, I would. As a matter of fact, I have. I got the deck over a year ago, and I let it sit around for a really long time before I opened it. But that happens to a lot of us tarot readers. But I'm glad that I eventually opened it up and worked with it because I have been using this deck for readings. Now, I haven't settled on one particular main deck that's going to replace Ellen Kanan Reed's Witch's Tarot, but Ellen Dugan's Witch's Tarot really does well in a pinch. It especially is a good deck to read with if you're reading for mundane people who don't really understand tarot or that kind of stuff. Some cards just have imagery that's a little too dark or a little too off-putting for people. There's none of that here in the Witch's Tarot by Ellen Dugan. It's a great card to use reading for your friends, for your family, for that psychic fair that happens once a year down at the Holiday Inn. Private clients, it works great. So I give Witch's Tarot by Ellen Dugan a 4.5 stars out of 5. Why not a 5-star review? because I've only ever had 2 decks that I would have given that kind of a review to. One of them was Ellen Kaden Reed's Witch's Tarot, and the other one is one that I'll go through at a later date. But let's just say 5-star reviews for tarot decks for me, they're so uncommon that 4.5 stars is about as good as any one that I'm probably going to review in the next year or two is ever going to get. But if you're good, maybe I'll tell you what the other deck is that would get a 5-star review from me sometime. That's it, folks. Thank you for watching this video. Now, if you haven't done it yet, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and after you subscribe, hit that little bell so you get all the notifications to let you know when I'm putting a new video up. I'm going to try to be putting out a couple of videos a week, but this one's kind of experimental. You may notice that I'm editing, that I'm adding in pictures. I'm kicking up the production value a bit. But that does mean that these videos are going to take a little longer to produce and to put out on the net, but I hope it's worth it. Go ahead and leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought of this review or what you thought about this particular tarot deck. I'm Taliesin, and may you only see good things ahead.